What's up, spectators? Welcome back to another episode of Ace Attorney 6. Oh, Phoenix Wright has been trying very hard to try and win this case, even though it seems like we've already proven that it is the Founder's Orb that we have, and that Dats didn't commit the crime, but now there's new testimony. It was around 11 at night, and I was out on a mobile meet and greet around the village. That's when I saw Dr. Buff being murdered from outside his study window. Mr. Arble snuck up from behind and struck him on the head. His weapon of choice? A suitcase. A big, strong man like him could easily swing a heavy suitcase into someone's head. Wow, that's short. You saw the murder as it happened. And you're just telling us now because... I saved the best for last. It's a tactic known to all political greats. The murder weapon was a complete mystery, but my client's eyewitness account has finally brought it into the light. According to the autopsy report, Dr. Buff was struck in the head by the corner of some object. I suppose that could very well be the corner of a suitcase.
Objection!
But eyewitness testimony isn't the same as hard evidence. I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. What's that supposed to mean? We have physical evidence too. A luminol test revealed the doctor's blood on Mr. Arble's suitcase. Really? How does that prove Mr. Arble used it as a weapon?
Objection!
You should know the answer to that, Mr. Justice. Since you know as well as I that the suitcase is covered in his fingerprints. I forgot we dusted it right in front of Emma. The turnabout terror strikes again. This is quite convincing testimony and evidence. Nevertheless, you may proceed with your cross-examination, Mr. Justice. You were on a so-called mobile meet and greet at 11 at night? That's right. It's the perfect time because everyone's at home. You should have seen how the villagers' eyes teared up when they heard what I had to say. With tears of frustration, no doubt. You weren't riding around in your palanquin? That's right. Some village idiot reported me to the police. I've been banned from using it after dark. No wonder, what with all the noise he makes. So what exactly did you see then? That's when I saw Dr. Buff being murdered from outside his study with his study window.
Hold it!
Sounds like you witnessed something rather shocking. Indeed. I didn't even believe it at first. I mean, a vicious murder in Kurain? A Kurain? There haven't been many murders there, I take it. If I'm elected, I promise you that such a terrible tragedy will never happen again. A vote for me is a vote to banish murder forever from our beloved Kurain village. Yeah, good luck with that. Mr. Atishan Wimperson, please tell the court what you saw at the scene of the crime. Mr. Arble snuck up from behind him and struck him on the head.
Hold
it! Snuck up from behind? So you're saying the doctor never even realized Mr. Arble was there? That's right. He was utterly absorbed in a book. I see. What did you see Mr. Arble do next? He climbed up the bookshelf ladder and dumped a bunch of books down on the body. I believe he was trying to make it look like an accident. But that idiot didn't realize I could see everything from outside the window. One of those statements doesn't feel right. Your Honor, I believe the witness made an important statement just about how... If the crime was visible through the window, that's earth-shattering testimony. Is it? Because to my ears, it sounds like a rather obvious fact. Oh, sorry, I'm good then. Wait! Ah! Hold on.
Hold it!
Alright, wait, is this the one? I think this is the one. Oh wait, I think this is the wrong one. Whoops.
Hold it!
Alright, let's hurry up, hurry up.
Hold it!
Alright, here we go. The doctor was reading a book at the time of the murder. That's vital testimony. Very well, the witness will please add that statement. The doctor was standing in front of the bookshelves, absorbed in a book.
Hold it!
You watched a murderer commit his crime and did nothing to stop it. That doesn't sound like a good way to score points with the voting public. I'm a politician, not a superhero. I'm under no obligation to risk life and limb. He sure is quick to deny his obligations when there's nothing in it for him. I'm getting tired of listening to his endless campaigning and flimsy rationalizations. About your testimony, Mr. Etician. You said Mr. Arbel struck the doctor from behind while he was absorbed in a book. That's exactly what happened. His weapon of choice? A suitcase.
Hold it!
Are you sure? Positive. I saw it with my own two eyes. Yet, despite your certainty, you kept quiet about it until now. No, I was waiting. I knew there would be a perfect chance to talk about it later. Information must always be disclosed in a strategic manner. That is one of the lessons of kingcraft, as taught by the Etician clan. Is there a lesson by chance in the Etician kingcraft guidebook on being honest? Anyway, I saw Mr. Arbel commit that heinous crime. A big, strong man like him could easily swing a heavy suitcase into someone's head.
Hold it!
I'd have to agree that suitcase is really heavy. Wait a second. How did you know it was so heavy? For all you knew, it could have been empty.
Objection!
My client witnessed the crime in progress, so naturally he saw Mr. Arbel straining to lift what was obviously a heavy suitcase. I can't say I'm a fan of you trying to discredit my client by tripping him up, Mr. Justice. But I'm just doing what you always do, Mr. Wright. Dr. Buff was struck from behind while he was absorbed in a book? He must have been really into it. It doesn't add up. What doesn't? That politician is lying, I'm sure of it. Alright, let's go to the statement added and see what we can present. What could it be? Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Could it be this?
Objection!
Nope. No, 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 no. Could it be about his reading glasses? Ah!
Objection!
The doctor was standing in front of the bookshelves, absorbed in a book, you say. I'm sorry, but it seems your testimony is completely unreliable. That's quite a bold statement. Let's hear you back it up. I challenge you to prove that I'm anything but 100% reliable. It would be my pleasure. Lately, it seems the doctor's eyes had gotten so bad he needed reading glasses. However, his reading glasses were over on his desk. So you see, there's no way he could have been reading in front of the bookshelves. I'm sorry, Mr. Optician, but I'm going to have to ask you to explain this discrepancy to the voting public. Gah. You what? I'll explain it, you lowly cur. I simply made a mistake, you see. The doctor was actually sitting at his desk when Mr. Arbel hit him over the head. But then the doctor would have been facing him. Surely he would have seen him and tried to run. Dr. Buff was nodding off. I could tell because his eyes were closed and he wasn't moving. Sounds more like what you would do. Then how do you explain the fact that he was struck in the back of the head? Isn't that something that should be impossible from the front of the desk? Oh, about that. He bowed his head when he nodded off. That's when he was clobbered. So that's what you saw. Well, Mr. Justice, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable explanation to me. Do you have a problem with the proposal that the doctor was struck while nodding off? There is a problem. A very big problem. The witness's statement doesn't hold up under the slightest bit of scrutiny. Is that so? Then will you please show this court what evidence you have to justify this? Gladly, Your Honor. This shows the problem with the witness's claim that he saw the doctor nodding off. I bet it's the diagram. Yep.
Take that!
A diagram of the study. Mr. Optician allegedly viewed the murder from here. Takes me back to the first case of the first game. And the doctor was allegedly nodding off. Here. But from his vantage point, the bookcase would have blocked the witness's line of sight. Why, yes, I believe you're right. But
Objection!
the fact remains, my client knew that the suitcase was the murder weapon. So he definitely has first-hand knowledge of the crime scene. I'm afraid I have to agree with you there, Mr. Wright. But then we have to ask ourselves, from what vantage point did he see the murder? What are you insinuating? From what vantage point could Mr. Optician Wimperson have seen the dozing doctor? Once we determine that, I believe we'll finally see the truth behind this incident. The witness saw the murder from right here.
Take that!
You gotta be kidding. But that's... It is indeed. But everything only makes sense if the witness was there in the study. Inside the study. But that's the scene of the crime. I know. Mr. Optician, the man who claims to be a witness to the murder, was most certainly in that very room. Apollo, are you suggesting? Mr. Optician Wimperson, weren't you the one who actually swung that suitcase?
Objection!
What you're proposing is ludicrous. My client is a small, thin man, whereas Mr. Arbel has the musculature to pull it off. He has a point. I gave up trying to lift that thing up after one go. That's right. He's the only one who could have lifted such a heavy object. Now do you understand? The rebel Dats Arbel is the doctor's killer. As long as the suitcase is the murder weapon, the suspicion falls entirely on Dats. We'll have to poke a hole in Mr. Wright's argument somehow, Apollo. Oh, I will, and with his own technique, no less. If Mr. Optician couldn't swing the suitcase around, we'll just have to consider another way he could have used it as a murder weapon. I'm gonna turn this case on its head, Mr. Wright, just like you taught me. You talk big, Mr. Justice, but do you have what it takes? Well, this should be interesting. Mr. Atishan's testimony has been filled with one inaccuracy after another. First, he stated that Dr. Buff was in front of the bookshelves. Now he claims that the doctor was sitting at his desk. So where was the victim really when he was killed? Also, where was his killer and how was the murder weapon really used? So the important thing here is the position of the victim and the killer relative to each other. Yes, Your Honor. If they were positioned in a certain way, it would be possible to use the suitcase as a weapon without lifting a finger. You can't mean. I'd ask the court to recall the study's layout. It's quite distinctive, as you can see. Now, if Dr. Buff were sitting in a certain spot, and his killer was at a certain other spot, the suitcase would become a weapon anyone could use. Very well, Mr. Justice. Where was Dr. Buff's killer at the time of the crime?
Take that!
There! This should wrap things up nice and pretty for you, Mr. Wright. It also explains the coffee stains. I'd ask the court to recall the study's layout. But this time, instead of thinking in 2 dimensions, let's think in 3. Only then can we clearly see the killer's method at work. Whoa. The killer didn't have to swing the suitcase. If he used gravity to his advantage, that is. That's right. It was the plaintiff, one politician, who used the suitcase. He pushed it from the 2nd floor. Whoop! And sent it hurtling down onto Dr. Buff, who was sitting at the coffee bar. The psychology book had been at the coffee bar, no doubt. The doctor must have set it down there after he'd finished reading it, or the like. But his blood got on it, which is why the killer thought to hide it in that mountain of books.
Objection!
That's quite an entertaining theory you have there, Mr. Justice. But there's no evidence that the murder took place at the coffee bar. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Wright. I'd say that evidence of the murder occurring at the coffee bar exists. The evidence does exist, and I'm going to show you. You are? This right here is proof that the murder took place at the coffee bar.
Take that!
This brown stain was determined to be coffee. What's more, it was still a bit damp when we saw it yesterday morning. One look at this book speaks volumes, I'm afraid, Mr. Wright. It tells us the doctor was having a cup of coffee at the coffee bar. That's when the suitcase came hurtling down, striking him on the head. Causing both his blood and his coffee to spatter on it. Well, Mr. Atishan? What motive could I possibly have had to kill Dr. Buff? And there it is. That final excuse cornered killers are so fond of. Well, the doctor never returned your crystal to you, did he? Instead, he hid it in the cave ruins. Telling him that the defying dragons were a dangerous bunch was a huge blunder. All it did was make him hide the orb. Your lie came back to bite you in the end. Even worse, the doctor saw the news report, so he knew the relic was the Founder's Orb. Being the conscientious researcher he was, he knew he had to return it to the rightful place. And that meant keeping it out of your hands. You were so angry that he refused to return the relic to you. That you killed him with your own hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Atishan? That is...
Hold it!
Apollo! Don't! Please don't accuse my client of murder. What do you mean, don't accuse him? Why would you even say that, Mr. Wright? What I meant was, he's a promising politician with a bright future ahead of him. It's in our nation's best interest to avoid burdening him with the taint of a scandal. Say what? Right! You better do something to change the current courtroom climate, or I'll be charged with murder. And you know what will happen to her if that happens. Really, you're just gonna say it out here? What are you, some kind of idiot? Arrest him now! He just said it! Arrest him! What's he talking about? Well, I can ponder that later. What? I'll just ponder that blackmail later. Mr. Wright, you can't possibly believe that Mr. Arbel's the killer. Are you really going to send an innocent man to prison? I thought you were better than that. Well, Mr. Wright, answer me. Mr. Wright? What in the world's going on here? If you won't say anything, then... Mr. Atishun, the defense hereby accuses you of... Apollo, wait. Not you too, Athena. It's just... I wasn't sure whether I should say anything, but... During the last recess, when I went to check out Mr. Wright, I overheard something I shouldn't have. I trust Maya's unharmed. I can't really say, but just remember, if I'm arrested or fail to obtain the treasure, there will be consequences. Consequences of the worst kind if you catch my Tokyo drift. Relax! All you have to do is ensure I get my hands on that relic. I must deliver it to my benefactor at all costs. What do they want that relic for anyway? It's something to do with an old legend. My patron seeks the great power said to be granted to whoever solves its secret. Maya? As in Maya Fey? Yes, the boss's legendary former assistant. Miss Fey's being held hostage. So it seems. Why didn't you tell me as soon as you heard about this? Sorry, it's just Mr. Wright spotted me before I could slip away, and made me promise not to tell you. He said it'd make things more difficult if you found out. As if things weren't already hard enough. So that's why Mr. Wright was acting so strange. I had no idea. This must have been excruciating for him. Think. There's gotta be something you could do. Mr. Justice, about that last statement of yours. I believe you were in the middle of accusing the plaintiff of murdering Dr. Buff. Would you care to continue? I'm sorry, Apollo. What's gotten into you two? If I accuse that slime bag, I put Miss Fey's life in jeopardy. It seems you finally caught on. I'm far too important to be accused of murder. After all, our nation's future rests squarely on my shoulders. Either I give up, or... Once I present the crystal to my patron, my victory's assured. Then one day I'll become president, and then king. I'll have every politician in my command. Now retract your accusation. I can't kowtow to him, but... the defense would...
Objection!
Hello, Dirk. Apollo. I don't know what's going on here, but a lawyer should never look the way you do right now. with defeat and resignation written all over your face.
A dragon never yields.
Even when wounded, a dragon bites down hard and never lets go till its dying breath. It glares, it roars, and it latches its jaws firmly onto its prey till the bitter end. That's what lawyers do to get to the truth. Dirk, a dragon never yields. He's right. It's all over if I give up now. If Mr. Wright's hands are tied, it's up to me to do what must be done. He saved my neck so many times. Now, it's my turn to save his. Dirk, thanks for that wake-up call. Now that's the face of a lawyer you've got there, son. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm going to find the way to save Miss Faye and see that justice is served. That scumbag is holding Miss Faye hostage to ensure he gets the orb for his patron. And it seems said patron believes in the orb's legend. Thing is, the founder did appear when the orb was exposed to fire, just as the legend said. If the legend is true, then we've already solved the riddle, right? Okay. We still don't understand what the part about bestowing power is talking about. The legend says the founder will bestow great power when she returns. But if that's true, it means we haven't yet solved the whole riddle. But how can that be? Are we missing something? Maybe the part about the founder returning should be taken literally. But how would it be possible for a dead person to bring the world of the living? There is a way for the dead to return. Spirit channeling. Of course, you'd have to know what the founder looks like first. Oh, Pearl Faye, it's her chance! But the orb has revealed her face to us, so what if it's a sign that we should channel her? Given the facts, in order to solve the riddle and receive the founder's power, I'd need a spirit medium. The ability of a medium to channel spirits is the final key to unlocking the orb's secrets. And with that, I'm gonna end this video here. So stay tuned for the next one, and thanks for watching and have a good Thanksgiving. Bye-bye!